Hi, my name is Don Sauce Cain, and I am a Frisbee player who hails from New Jersey. I originally threw on suburban streets. It was a white pro. We would play keep away various games, and I realized that I could throw it kind of far, and enjoyed that. It wasn't very long after that I was in high school, and a very good friend of mine who I had actually been Boy Scouts with in younger years. And he approached me and said, "Hey, we're going to have a Frisbee club." And I like to throw Frisbee, so, it's very innocent. It's just basically going out on the high school lawn and playing catch. We didn't really have a mission. And then came the pamphlet from Maplewood, New Jersey, Columbia High School, that said, "You can play Ultimate." And we had an idea of a sport that we could play. And we were a real ragtag squad. We had ex-jocks, we had hippies, we kind of glued together. But we could play pretty good. We were the very first team to ever beat Columbia High School. And by one measly point. And they rescheduled immediately. And as I recall, they came back with an army and crushed us, but we had drawn first blood. So having a soccer background, Ultimate became my thing. And I went to Rutgers. They were the early dynasty of that sport, where we were undefeated for a number of years. The streak was 48 games. This was back in a time where if you were going to play during a weekend, a really busy weekend, you might have 3 games, as opposed to these days where you go to a tournament and you might have 10 games. So, it was substantial back in the day. And my nickname Sauce came from Ultimate. Playing at Rutgers, the early phase of the game, a lot of the better players had a backhand and they had a wrist flip. Well, that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted some delivery on the right-hand side of my body. So I came up with like a 2-finger flick, which was up high, and it was just a snap of the wrist. And believe me, I got yelled at a lot for using it because I could have thrown something else. But eventually it evolved down, and I had, as far as I knew, the only flick on the East Coast in the Ultimate community. I started throwing pulls. It got so good that I had to stand sideways. We were throwing a master Frisbee, which is pretty primitive, really. It had ridges. And when I would snap it really hard, it would whistle as it took off. My captain's nickname was Dr. I, Irv Kalb. And he started saying, "Put some sauce on those throws," calling me Saucer Tosser and Sauce of my toss. And, when Irv, the comedian captain, gave you a nickname, it stuck. And I've been happily Sauce ever since. Other meanings may have come into play, not quite sure. But my heart leaps playing disc sports. It soars with the disc. And I can't even imagine if I didn't join the Frisbee community where my life would have gone, or I certainly wouldn't have had nearly the wonderful people and events that I've been involved in. I was lucky enough to go to a couple of Rose Bowls, got the MVP trophy in one of the Ultimate games there was nothing higher on the totem pole for me. Worked at Wham-O for the IFA for a year and a half, with Stork and Joe Cahow, legendary, Frisbeings. And 2 Pepsi commercials. I don't know if you knew about those, Rob, but got to get paid for doing what I love to do in Fordham University in the Bronx. Made it onto a national televised commercial, got all sorts of residuals. It was beyond belief. It's like, and then the second one was even more fun because they came back to me. It worked out so well. They said, "Sauce, we have another project. Come into the city. Bring one of your buddies." So that was on me, picking my buddy that might be in on a project. And I chose my freestyle partner. We went in and they said, would you be interested in making another commercial in Venezuela? Am I going to say no? And so there we went. We made that. It played in Spanish-speaking nations. And not so much the residuals, but it was a wonderful experience. And then that brings us to perhaps my most notable thing, which was one of the Octads, which is a multi-event individual performance kind of a tournament that in 1984, I happened to go out on the field to throw my very first MTA, and I'd had some great practice throws. I realized that there really was a wonderful thing that you could catch, and I envisioned a shelf that was about a third-story throw. It couldn't be anything lower. I threw this thing, and it went straight up and sat on that shelf and started to slowly carve across the sky. Well, I was an ultimate player. I'm not afraid to run. And I got on my horse, and I started going that way as fast as I could. Other people that watched it from a better perspective said that it towered. Again, I'm running like a madman over to where it is. It starts to go into some trees, shies away, starts going back the other way. Now I'm running back the other way. I just want this thing to be over. And I'm underneath, I'm in the worst spot possible. It's right above me. And if it runs out of gas, it's going to pick a direction and go. So I'm under thinking, make your move, make your move. And it had enough sauce on it that it kept spinning the whole flight right down in front of me. And I had some kind of a flashback from a karate class, and I squared off and went bang and caught it straight out from my chest. I get a lot of grief for that. Should have milked it, sauce. Hey, you know what? I cashed in my chips. I didn't want to be in that other book of world-class idiots that dropped the tremendous thing. So that was my first throw. My best buddy is throwing next, and he's looking at me like, what am I supposed to do? In the meantime, I don't even know what's happened. People come running over and tackle me. And I'm like, did I foot fault? What's happening here? And they're yelling what happened, and it's hard to believe. And then, then people kind of calm back down. They realize they have to proceed with the tournament. And of course, the hardcore competitors are like, oh, well, now you're going to save your arm, right? You're going to scratch the next 4 throws. And I look at them, Rob, and say, you guys don't understand me at all. I am here to throw. And now I don't have to hold back. I thought that was pretty good. And, I didn't make any noise with my next throws, but I did manage to, obviously that helped me make the semis. And then I managed to win the semis and then made the finals, and I won the finals. So, it's a lot better having a day of a fluke than a throw of a fluke kind of thing. But, and here we are. That was 1984, and it's 2016, and none of these long-limbed Europeans that I counted on beating it have not come across. But, for me, I've got to tell you, I have my own noise, all right? Early in my ultimate career, I would yell supportive things, I would yell for joy, and it's turned into this noise. I'll do it, it's loud, and it's just kind of, friends of mine know that noise. If they're on the disc golf course, they'll echo it. They'll echo it back. See, I get accused of being a moose. But it just speaks to the love and enjoyment. There are so many people that know that and echo it. Ultimate community. When I revisit the individual event community, this is all tremendous stuff. I love it. I want on my tombstone that I was a Frisbee player. That's all I ever wanted to be. I just love it. Mind expanding. when you throw on the beach and you see people look at you like, I didn't know you could do that with a Frisbee. You know, let that translate into other things in your life. You know, there's endless possibilities, and don't put limits on things because you don't know what's possible.